Somewhere off the coast of Puerto Rico, a plane sat on the ocean floor for 74 years. No one knew exactly where. Families who lost people on it grew old and died without ever finding out. And then, on June 2nd of this year, a search team found it on their very first attempt with a drone, after being given just 2 days to look. This is the story of Pan Am Flight 526A, and why it took 74 years to find something that changed the way every single one of us flies today. On April 11th, 1952, a Pan American World Airways Douglas DC-4, named the Clipper Endeavour, lifted off from San Juan's Isla Grande Airport in Puerto Rico. Destination: New York. On board were 69 people, 64 passengers, 5 crew. Seconds after takeoff, something went wrong. Both engines on the right wing began failing, one after another. The crew fought to keep the aircraft climbing, coaxing it up to barely 550 feet. It wasn't enough. 9 minutes after leaving the runway, with no way back to the airport, the pilots made the only choice they had left. They ditched the plane in the Atlantic Ocean, about 11 miles off the coast. Here's the part that's hard to hear. Everyone survived the impact. Every single person on that plane lived through the landing. But the aircraft was sinking, fast. Within 3 minutes, it slipped beneath the waves completely. The plane was carrying life rafts and personal flotation devices for every passenger aboard. But there had been no safety briefing before the flight. No instructions on where the exits were, how to find a life vest, or what to do in an emergency landing at sea. Passengers didn't speak a common language. There was no coordinated evacuation. And as the cabin filled with rising water, many people simply stayed in their seats, too afraid of the open ocean and what might be swimming in it to make the jump. 52 people drowned. Only 17 made it out alive. Investigators studying the crash reached an uncomfortable conclusion. Most of those 52 people didn't have to die. They had the equipment to survive. What they didn't have was 5 minutes of instruction before takeoff. So regulators changed the rules. The Civil Aeronautics Board, the agency that came before today's FAA, proposed a new requirement. Every commercial flight, before every takeoff, needed to walk passengers through exactly what to do in an emergency. Where the exits are, how to use a life vest, what to do if the plane goes down. That safety briefing you've heard 100 times and probably tuned out. It exists because of this crash. Every time a flight attendant points to the exits before takeoff, that's the Clipper Endeavour. Which raises the question nobody could answer for 74 years. Where exactly did it go down? For 7 decades, the Clipper Endeavour was one of the oldest unsolved locations in American aviation history. Searchers had a rough idea of where it went down, but roughly 11 miles off the coast covers an enormous amount of ocean floor. The breakthrough came from an unlikely place: paperwork. Researchers dug up records from a hearing held in Puerto Rico after the crash, and a hand-drawn map. It had been created decades earlier by U.S. Air Force pilots who happened to witness the crash from the air as it happened, and sketched out roughly where the plane went down. That old map, combined with a research vessel and an autonomous underwater drone, gave the search team a real shot. They were given just 2 days with the equipment. They found it on the first attempt. Nearly 2,000 feet below the surface, broken into 2 sections, sat the Clipper Endeavour. 74 years underwater, and the aircraft was still remarkably intact. High-resolution images showed the landing gear, an engine, and clearly legible, on the battered but preserved fuselage, the winged Pan American logo. There was no question what they'd found. 2 people who lived through that crash are still alive today. One is a woman, now 102 years old, who was a young nurse in her 20s on that flight, and who helped force open the aircraft door as the plane was going down, giving other passengers a chance to get out. The other is a baby who was pulled from the water, found floating on the surface, and resuscitated by rescuers. Both were told, after 74 years, that the wreck had finally been found. According to the people who delivered the news, both were overcome with emotion. The Air/Sea Heritage Foundation is now working with Puerto Rico to protect the wreck site, and there are calls for a permanent memorial for the 52 people who never made it home. Every time you sit through a safety briefing, you've heard 100 times before. The exits, the life vest, the flotation cushion. You're hearing the direct result of what happened to this flight. It took 74 years to find the plane. But in a way, it changed aviation before anyone ever found it at all. If you want to go deeper into the places history left behind, subscribe. There's a lot more still buried out there.